All right, what's good, everybody? Aloha mai kako, ovao Kumu Jaz, and I am your host for this new blog, vlog, rant, interview, whatever you call it, segment that a couple of my friends thought would be a good idea for me to do. So this is going to be my first official episode here. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is talking about martial arts, its traditions, and its modernness, its modern times, its good and bad, and all of that. Sometimes I'll be showcasing some of my friends that have YouTube channels and various programs and various shows or whatever, talking about martial arts. I love McDojo.com. So I'll probably get McDojo features on here as well. I have been one of those guys that has been fortunate to float in both worlds, because I was asked to do seminars many years ago in the early, maybe the first 20 years of my martial arts career. And I was doing seminars in some areas where there would be other teachers that were guys that you would now see in like getting exposed for like their what we call like Bushido, right? Or their, their magic powers, misinterpretation of chi, misinterpretation of powers, eternal powers, or what we call in Hawaii, mana or whatever. So on this first episode, what I wanted to talk about is what I get asked a lot about is, why do I still teach some traditional martial arts, even though I say it probably won't work, or I probably won't say this is for, or I say that this is not for self-defense anymore. This is really for, I guess, the preservation of the original point of the system, I guess. And so aside from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I also teach a kind of combination of Kodenkan, traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, and Hawaiian Kenpo. And I've kind of put those together in not an art, but just in a style of the school, which I coined as Hawaiian Combat Jiu-Jitsu. Now, in those systems, there are stuff that I teach that wouldn't work today, but I still teach them because they're part of the tradition of the system, and I'd be doing the system itself an injustice by not teaching them, but also explaining that, hey, like this works in certain situations, or it may not, or I'm teaching you this because it's just part of the system. Good example is like collar grab, wrist locks, and things like that. I teach that a lot of times. I don't even teach those as the beginning thing in the system, which is what you would normally teach traditionally. So like sometimes I bring those kind of techniques up to my more advanced students because they're already aware of all the other stuff that works. Time to teach them some traditional things of what was, part of the past of what we do, right? So, various collar grabs or chokes of how to use wrist control and manipulate the situation so that you can get out and either take them down or strike them. Do those work in today's times? Yes and no. Are they going to work against somebody that is a trained fighter, trained jiu-jitsu fighter, trained boxer or kickboxer? Yeah, probably not. But will it work on like a drunk dude at a bar if you're working security or if you're a bouncer and this guy's, needs to be handled without you actually laying your hands on him, in a striking manner or so, or having to, take him to the ground? Sometimes you may have to resort to like a wrist lock or some sort, or one of those old school, taken behind the back with the arm kind of subduing method. But the point is, we teach those because that's where we were taught on our way up to instructor. And it's very important that we carry on traditions and maybe advance them in your own way. If you're a black belt of your system, whether you're carrying on a tradition or not, you have the kind of the ability and the authority to advance things and add or subtract it as things need to be evolved in, as the progression of the bad guy gets worse and worse and more skilled every day, right? Another example would be certain striking. I'm a big fan of traditional styles of karate, of taekwondo. Many of those striking styles I am a huge fan of, and I am all for training in those methods. Do most of those work in today's times? Yes, in certain situations, of course, and it totally depends on the fighter. Guys have been successful in UFC and some of the bigger promotions by being a traditional stand-up fighter. It works very well. But we also have to understand that some of those techniques are practiced in a manner where working against somebody that you're not used to training for, will get you in a lot of trouble. Give an example. Nobody ever punches at you with the same leading foot and the straight strike anymore, nor is he gonna leave it out there for 5 minutes so you can do all your stuff, right? I still teach a lot of that stuff, but a lot of that stuff is made for agility, and for repetition, so that your body has some kind of mechanics in martial arts so that you naturally react and muscle memory kicks in and you do something. You do something to react. It may not be a certain technique, but you do something and you react so that you can somewhat defend yourself. So as instructors, we just need to teach that there is two ways. There's this traditional way of how to teach, and you should teach that way. But at the same time, you could teach like, hey, okay, this is what we do now. Okay, we no longer do this, but we do this now, so that they know both ways. And you can learn both. You can do both. If you're a good enough martial artist and you practice enough, you can add and subtract without even knowing you're doing it, just depending on the situation. So I feel that it's very important to, yes, continue to train, or hopefully you teachers out there, you sensei, you kumu, you professors are still teaching in the original manner that your teacher taught you, no matter how old the system is, but to continue to show an evolved version of it and to make them live spar in that evolved version. Because we can't live spar in those traditional aspects too much, right? Because it's just not feasible in a situation, right? A lot of those arts that teach you how to like, oh, this will be the kill stuff. You can't do this on somebody because you might kill them. So yeah, maybe so, but you can never practice them for real if you're going to hurt somebody supposedly in your dojo, right? So you never practice them at 100%. You practice them at like 30%, right? So teach the variations and the involvement or the progression of the system, of the traditional system, but have them spar live with it and spar hard. You have to spar hard, whether it's jujitsu, whether it's kickboxing, whether it's karate or kenpo. You have to spar hard, and you have to get each other's body tough and get used to the hits. Because you can roll and do barambolos all you like in the mat and say to yourself that, oh, just from me rolling, I'm going to be able to defend myself. No, if you don't know how to take a punch or you don't know how to give a punch, that's going to mean nothing when you get to somebody or you fight with somebody that knows exactly what you do, but they can hit you and they can take a punch. That's going to make the difference. Okay? Anyway, I hope for this first episode you learned something or you got something out of it. If you've got some mana'o, please share down right here, right below. Like, what else are you supposed to do? Subscribe, right? Am I supposed to put a thing over here where you can pay or something every time you view this or something like that, right? If you don't like the video, I guess tell me too, but be nice, you know what I mean? Every episode, you'll learn a little bit more about me, a little bit more about what I do, and a little bit more about this wonderful world of martial arts. Okay? MahalOSS.